Hello, friends, enemies, strangers. I'm back. Sorry it's been so long. I appreciate your patience. And now, let's talk about rap music. The reality is, I'm not a very talkative person. I'm probably the last person that should be hosting a podcast. Although I do like to share music that I appreciate, I just don't even have that much to say about it. So, this episode, I'm not going to force anything. I'm going to be brief and just tell you about some music that I think you should hear. Firstly, I would like to bring your attention to Inada, aka Pavlin, out of Chicago. This guy purchased a copy of the Pedestrian album, which is available at extraordinaryrap.org. And anyone who is a fan of Pedestrian who tells me they make their own music, I will immediately be interested in it. I was kind of floored by his two projects, which he was kind enough to send me on CD. Spambot Spirit Settler Volume 1 is a 7-track album, richly layered, densely lyrical, thematically sad. These seem to be essentially lamentations about our suffering planet and doomed species, but just beautifully written and constructed. This guy's production is unparalleled. His delivery, vocal tones, everything is just such quality. I can't believe he's so unknown. I will be surprised if anyone has heard of him that's listening, but please, if you take any of my recommendations this entire episode, check out Inada, aka Pavlin. I think maybe he changed his name from Inada to Pavlin between these two releases. The second of which is an EP called Tenant of the Old Rock. Go to Inada, that's INEDA.bandcamp.com to check out his music. Link will be in the show notes along with links to all of the other music I discuss. And here's a sample of Pavlin or Inada.
On this terrace side, we on track, no outskirt. For all of us, we thought that for years. Told you stayed east, the drought is short. As a tenant of this old rock to a landlord of blacktop, with my phantom heads tall. On this terrace side, we on track, no blue original frap. We fought back for years, told who fled west, the drought is long. As a tenant of this old rock, my ancestors in the bedrock, we made mansions of their bones. On this terrace side, we on track, no outskirt. For all of us, we thought that for years, told who stayed east, the drought is short. As a tenant of this old rock to a landlord of blacktop, with my phantom heads tall.
Dumping that clay mud right down over the graveyard.
Of the recent releases I've heard, which are not a lot because honestly, I've just been, I've been bored by a lot of what's coming out. I feel like people are really just kind of taking comfort in what they've found is working with audiences and not pushing themselves. People seem to be really gravitating towards these unexciting beats, background music that doesn't get in the way of the lyrics, which are by and large subpar poetry, navel-gazing, conceited, pompous. But of the recent releases I've heard, I will mention Elucid's new album, definitely caught my ears and kept my attention.
Words for the departed, locust and wild honey, deeper shade of carnage, staring to the fire, heads of state laughing, liars, hate has a logic, join the children's face. A promise is a promise, but it still don't feel the same. If I can just be honest, a will to break, whose life to hold. We live to tell the story. We live to sing the song. Our record is charged. Cloud, cruel sky. My niggas survive like a moving target. War cloud, cruel sky. My niggas survive like a moving target. War cloud, cruel sky. My niggas survive like a moving target. I didn't watch the video.
I've yet to listen to the Quelle Chris and Cavalier album that came out, and I've only begun to listen to the Cavalier solo album that came out. I think Fatboy Sharif has a new project. These are like our underground hip-hop mainstays, our established, somewhat successful artists in the nebulous genre, but by and large, I've just become bored with it, which is why I've been mostly focusing on the past, is what you will hear from me, rather than focusing on a narrow span of time in which the music is narrow in its scope and variety. I'm going to talk about music spanning several decades, and I guess this variety and eclecticism that I can find between the many decades is much more exciting to me than focusing on the contemporary music releases that just fail to stimulate me. But one project that got my blood boiling a bit was Andrew Mbaruk and Wet Jet Seymour's album. It's produced by Wet Jet Seymour, vocals by Andrew, plus a couple of features by Wet Jet. These guys are operating from their own universes, and you won't find anything else like this.
Hypnotism or of dreaming within the system. In 2014, I was browsing at the library, so boredly reading an account of Pliny, when one little thin book called to me on hypnotism and philosophy, written by Winston Daltrey, whose history of Hitler and the Nazis mostly delves into the occult, so there's no doubt it's legit. So hypnotism, the crux of it is creating mind states by displacing desired states onto poetic images. The primate primitive, or the tulips, were feeling a little sleepy and stuff.
I might sound very opinionated, and just so you know, I'm second guessing everything I say, because what do I know? Music is completely subjective. It all depends on context and experience, and I've just been in a bad mood lately, which also, possibly more than anything else, affects my judgment of music. I've taken a cursory listen to the new Tokyo Cigar album, Mega Man 6, and he continues to be a rare exception, just a vibrant energy, clearly operating on his own terms with little regard to the rest of contemporary music, and I love it.
Yeah. Hands to time, manicure design, intertwined, comic book lines, brought 9, Alan Grant wrote lines, Norm Brave Fogle art design, Bruce Wayne fighting crime, you learn a lot from hard times, test your state of mind, Pops one time, told me take time, stars align, I ain't seen them in years, multicolored fairs, international pairs, British cars what they stare, the early figure years, Ivy's drama flared, throwing chairs, all the haters, hated in pairs, always felt fair, the weekend is here, memory shared, Polaroids in the chair, before the sun disappeared, Nuhu Abbas, and Babs was dead, Fidelia and Charma with braided hair, now they talk to Robert that year, he wore polo and drank beer, I look past the gates in the rear, cigarette smoke glare, army barracks near, speakers pumping jams in the air, hip-hop and R&B blend, yeah, classic party, we all been there.
And now I'll get into some older music that may have passed you by or you may need a reminder about. I've been re-listening to a lot of DJ Shadow music. I think for a lot of people, not his first album, but his first proper release, Introducing, was pretty revolutionary as far as what instrumental sample-based hip-hop could be. And ever since then, I think listeners have been disappointed by and large that he has not returned to that formative sound that he established with that album. Myself included, I've always had huge respect for him as a producer and listened to everything that came out, but none of it ever quite hit me in the gut like I was hoping for. And I think that's part of the problem, is that the preconceived notions I've had and other listeners have had about his music have caused them to judge him unfairly. And with some distance, I've been able to go back and appreciate a lot of his work with new ears. And I'm really impressed not only by the craft and the eclecticism, but by the apparent complete disregard for the listener's expectations or desires. He really seems to do what he wants. Case in point, The Outsider, I think probably his least successful album, and still to me very uneven and kind of bewildering, especially in its track order. I still feel like there's something wrong about it and how unbalanced it is, and how, there's like 3 West Coast hyphy based songs and then 10 eclectic other songs and then 2 more hyphy songs. And if he rearranged the track order, I think it could have felt a little more balanced. Although you're always going to lose people, I think, when you go from such completely different styles of music within an album. But from a rap head standpoint, I think this album is incredibly valuable just simply from the song 3 Freaks featuring Keek the Sneak and Turf Talk. Also in the Bay Area hyphy vein, advanced by DJ Shadow's meticulous and idiosyncratic takes on tradition, is Turf Dancing featuring The Federation and That's My Part featuring E40. There are some songs which I don't care for at all, but it's an album worth challenging yourself with.
Keep sneaking and talking, dosing the toaster, you don't get that shit. If you think hoes on us, man, what you to do? Know what I'm saying? It don't matter, just don't bite. Alright, I'll pull the jump to the scraper. Me don't pay for nothing, I'm spending the bitch paper. Thigh leg wing, my nigga in no biscuit. Got a starstruck, hey turf, man, look at these chicks. We need 3. Man, we need freaks. NWA is a booty, it's a booty. Hello. We need 3. Man, we need freaks. NWA is a booty, it's a booty. Ride with it or not. If I can't get in the club in the parking lot. Man, my stomach ain't aching, but I'm a boss. I don't pay too much for nothing.
This is an album which I both enjoy and deeply dislike. I enjoy the music, but I feel deceived by its presentation, particularly the titles. This is Gravediggaz 6 Feet Under, not to be confused with the debut Gravediggaz album, 6 Feet Deep. This is an obvious ploy to capitalize on that album's popularity, possibly to even confuse buyers into purchasing the album thinking it was the other one. It's not even an album, actually, although it is presented as such. It is a compilation of 2 different previously released albums, one being the solo Fruquan album, the other being Gravediggaz Nightmare in A Minor album. Now, even calling the Nightmare in A Minor album a Gravediggaz project is a stretch, because that included only 2 of the original members of the group. That's Fruquan and Poetic. And Poetic on this compilation makes only a few appearances. So this is essentially a Fruquan solo compilation. And to add insult to injury, the song titles are changed to further deceive the prospective buyer into thinking this is a new project. With that said, I really do enjoy Phrue Kwan, and this is a solid listen from beginning to end, although the last song seems like it cuts off midway through and it just ends that way. I'm talking about this album as a public service announcement to not buy it, but also to check out the other quote-unquote Gravediggaz music and Phrue Kwan, because it's great on its own merit. He doesn't need to ride on the coattails of his past group, although from a promotional standpoint, I get it. I guess you got to do what you got to do to get in listeners' ears sometimes. Anyway, I think a lot of attention has been paid to the first Gravediggaz album. My favorite was always their second, and I've always been surprisingly pleased by the further output of the quote-unquote Gravediggaz.
Satan be putting the thought in my head to lay awake and waste men. But they be black like me, and they react like me. Carry a gat like me, producing the drama like Spike Lee. Hoodies and Tim's nightly, maneuvering packed tightly. Keeping the block spicy, and like they wrist icy. For a limited time, the criminal mind is shine before they find it dumb and deaf and blind. Either be God or be a swine, you know the graveyard anthem. Digging your brain sanctum, grim reap, poetic, Tony titanium out like a phantom.
Leaving collegiate, listen to pair, leaving the trap sector, catching the snare, breathing the air, picking up fears like bone collector, slipping the deuce, turning the juice, niggas are lost in thought, unfaded in appearance, running past interference, nigga with trend, tearing the raid, causing the earth to shake, rated percuss next to nothing, my molecules running constant, microphone leaving the struck, wrapped employment, guns I bust, never to sink or drop, I'm ready to bust shots, the hideous,
Public Enemy Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Black. At the time of this release, I appreciated it, but I felt like it fell short of some of the previous releases. I've always thought that Fear of a Black Planet was the apex of Public Enemy, and in re-listening to this album, I feel like it's actually on par with it. It is different in a lot of ways, but fantastic. It is a little more repetitive and lacking in some of the density of production and arrangement that Fear of a Black Planet had, but most of these songs are just bangers, and listening to it 3 decades later, it's just a nice little time capsule. You won't find anything like this today or even when it came out.
Wheeling with the boom in the back. The trouble was level, I like it like that. I was rolling. I 5-0, looked and said, hold it. And I stopped still, I never got ill. Cause my license was clean and I showed it. I reached pow wow instead of pow pow. I'm straight up and I'm straight. How you like me now? But I know how you do, you're straight from Babylon. But I know how you do, you're straight from Babylon. They said turn it down, cause it's a new law. You never seen this before, but we roar like a war. They warned me once, they warned me twice. So I knew I was warned, they had it going on. I got the f*** out of Dodge with my bunk.
Why not throw in a non-rap album? Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. I never listened to this album before. It's considered their classic by most music critics. It's where they really first strayed away from pop music, and the arrangements, the nuance, the complexity of these songs is just fantastic. Hot take. Beach Boys' Pet Sounds, great album. All right, editing this in post, I'm not going to put a snippet of the Beach Boys album because Facebook will probably mute it. But what I will put here is a snippet of a project that I just put up on YouTube. I took the Lost Beach Boys album, Smile, which never properly was released because Brian Wilson, the head dude of the Beach Boys, was basically losing his mind. This was the album that was supposed to follow Pet Sounds, but it finally came out in some form in like 2005. And I took that album and I slowed it down, added a bunch of reverb and echo because I thought that made it sound better. and I uploaded it to YouTube. I'll play a snippet of that here, and the link will be in the show notes, as with the rest of this stuff. This is an album, some reason I never really paid attention to it. This is Philco, album title, Lost Zoo Keys and the Animal Spirits That Haunt Them. Every song on this album is about a different animal, I believe all endangered animals, and that concept in itself is pretty pleasing to me. And yeah, you can hear that mid-2000s art rap influence, but it stands on its own. It's clearly operating on its own terms, not only lyrically, but sonically. Production by Scott DeRoss, owner of Endemic Music, which is the label it came out on. It's just like, it's kind of whimsical, but sorrowful, and it works for me.
Hunting locksmiths with a German short hair, killing shacks on stilts, sport outweighs the guilt. The first time my father showed me how to fucking kill, I couldn't possibly rap or fold a box around the way it made me feel today.
Now, Ice-T. Ice-T is someone who, for me, and I wouldn't be surprised if for a lot of other people, sort of lost his legitimacy as a gangster when he started acting in Hollywood blockbusters, and like Ice Cube, it just, at least at that time in the 90s, it caused a sort of rupture in my conception about these artists. And I guess maybe now, where I've had a lot more time to think about the distinction between art and artist, and the reality that so much art, music, is an act. It's not usually a true representation of the person behind the music, and that's okay. It can still be appreciated on its own terms. And with that outlook, I've been able to revisit some of Ice-T's albums that I used to own as a young teenager, specifically the 3-album run Iceberg, OG, and Home Invasion. These are Ice-T's 3rd, 4th, and 5th album, and of these, the 4th, OG, certainly stands as the cream of the crop, while the other two are definitely worth a listen. OG is just packed, and it is a long album. Even so, it manages to keep my attention. The production, the lyrics are fantastic, and you can just tell, even though it's relatively lowbrow concepts, there is a highly intelligent person writing these lyrics, and Ice-T really knows how to capture the listener's attention. So I would certainly recommend OG. If you like what you hear there, check out either the previous or following albums. Both have their flaws in different ways. I would say Home Invasion is a more honed, even-keeled album, but lacking some of the bombast and eclecticism of the previous, whereas the Iceberg is pretty solid until the last quarter or so, where it just devolves into like party rap. Also, What I love about collecting CDs is I get to see the cover art, and some of these, especially the Iceberg album, has just like some fantastic cover art. The inner jacket includes some really cool collages of photographs you won't see anywhere else of contemporary hip-hop artists of that era. I kind of want to get my hands on the vinyl of it just so I can hang that on my wall.
It's been a long time since I hit you with freestyle. High-tech selection from the vaults of the Ice Files. Kick back, relax, and watch as I melt wax. Don't ever let a brother like me ride a dope track. Cause once I hit it with the vocal tone, it's mine. Have motherfuckers rushing to rewind. Cause I flow slow and still twist your tongues up. Rock the house from night till the sun's up. Cause it really ain't how much you say, it's what you say. I got no fucking time on the mic to play. I write rhymes with addition and algebra, mental geometry.
All right, coming in post, again, I'm going to just talk more about Ice-T, because one thing that should be pointed out is he did 99 Problems before Jay-Z. Apparently, I totally forgot about this, but Jay-Z just stole that whole concept, the chorus, the hook from this song.
Got a bitch with tits, a bitch with ass, a bitch with none, but hey, I give her a pass and I love them all. I love them crazily, and they love me back. That's why they stay with me. So if you're having girl problems, I'll prepare for your son. Got 99 problems and a bitch ain't one. Hit it.
Another thing I'll mention that I really like about Ice-T is his politics. Like, he's got not only like the freedom of speech, like battle with the PMRC, the Parental Music something or other, the group that was responsible for instating the parental advisory stickers and just trying to censor music, basically. And then, of course, he came into a lot of backlash against the Cop Killer song. He also talks about, international politics, imperialism, and war, which is pretty surprising for a gangster rapper. You're not going to find these kind of lyrics in a NWA song or a 50 Cent or a Clips, or even a Kendrick Lamar is not talking about international politics like that. So I think that's pretty cool.
This album was completed on January 15th, 1991. By now the war has probably started and a whole bunch of people have probably died out there in the desert over some bullshit. There's a war going on right now in my neighborhood, but I can't really determine which one's worse. I think the one that we're all fighting is fucked up, and that's the war inside our brains, But I feel bad about all the brothers and sisters getting pulled right out of the neighborhoods, all the cities and small towns in America to go over there and fight for that bullshit that most of them don't really have anything to do with. So I gotta send peace out to them. Also peace out to all my homies in jail. Brothers that are dead, locked up right here on Earth. Talking about the brothers in Soledad, San Quentin, all the way up to Pelicans Bay, Tracy, Chino, and all my homeboys out there in the East Coast, lockdown facilities. I'm talking about Clinton, Rikers, Joliet. Every prison in the whole fucking world, man. That's like, that's all bullshit, They say slavery has been abolished except for the convicted felon. Y'all need to think about that. That lets you know what the fucking Constitution really is about, A lot of my homeboys have been locked down my whole entire career, and that's some bullshit. So for them, from the Rhyme Syndicate and Ice-T, I'd like to send this special shout out. Fuck the police, fuck the FBI, fuck the DEA, fuck the CIA, fuck Tipper Gore, Bush, and his crippled bitch.
And I also want to bring attention to his group Body Count. Of course, that's the group that spawned the single Cop Killer. They have one Body Count song on the OG album, and I hadn't heard Body Count in a long time, and re-listening to that track, I was actually pretty surprised how well it's aged. I'm not an expert in this genre, but it seems to be like very much rooted in Los Angeles, the vein of like Suicidal Tendencies, or thrash metal, I think, is what this would be called. But it's pretty good, I think. I got to go listen to the Body Count albums now and follow up on what I missed there, because I don't think I ever heard anything beyond the first Body Count album. But yeah, that's just a couple other things I wanted to mention about Ice-T. Now, this is an album I kind of lost track of. I guess I heard it when it first came out, and I was, for the first time, really made aware of how out of the ordinary and sometimes off-puttingly abnormal was the rap style of Circus. This album is Circus versus Andre Afram Asmar, who produced the beats. Album title, God Bless the Faceless Cowards. As I've aged and grown further and further away from my early aughts conspiracy-brained conception of the Illuminati and whatever fantastical ideas were floating around in the sphere of conspiracy theorists of the day, this stuff seems more and more ridiculous. But unlike a lot of the anti-New World Order rap of that era, Circus had a real sense of humor and a cartoonishness about it all that makes it a lot easier for me to swallow, and it's just fun. If you're listening with fresh ears to Circus, you might be taken aback by just his really strange rap style, which is this odd kind of melodic but monotone vocalizing, a lot of rap that doesn't rhyme, rhythmically simplistic and slow for the times, but really a sound all of its own. And what I really like also about this album is not only the fantastically cartoonish imagery, you know, alien overlords and mashups of pop culture and biblical references, etc., but just the spirit of Circus, who really embodied this sort of underdog uprising persona. And, you know, in later years, we would find that this was not really an act. It was, I guess Circus was really truly fighting some interdimensional beings in his head, at least. And they seemed to get the best of him at a certain point. He just kind of stopped doing music and ended up institutionalized. He's made brief appearances back into society in recent years, although still has yet to release any new music. I think after this project, they released one more Shapeshifters album, but this album is really entertaining from beginning to end. Pretty interesting production by Asmar, and I love it.
Something now, a fall for everything, always. The shit is so simple, it's kill or be killed. Cause if the atom bombs don't kill us, then the fast food will. We'll probably all die of some cause and never know what for. That's why you gotta fight for your right to be a lazy American and die an unknown soldier in someone else's war. Your new dictator is running for election, so be sure to cast your vote for the one and only name on the ballot. Be a useful puppet. Take my blood. Be sure to vote for Giant. It's like now. Who's the real?
Now, Fu-Schnickens. Fu-Schnickens are too silly for me, but I have to admire just the audacity and the complexity of a lot of the rhyme schemes. It's a very strange, very unique approach. The first album for me has some highlights and some lowlights that really bring it down. The second album is a little more solid, I would say, all through and through, and plus includes a bit of a advancement of the vocal dexterity and complexity of the first album. It's worth hearing, I think, just for the level of craft and unique take on rap music that these guys had.
What to do? Timbuk 1, Timbuk 2. I can't see a thing like Mr. Magoo. This everything. Golfing, stuffing, or the nappy, taking the box, dreadlock, rocks. So that boots. Oh my gosh, oh my dude, shucks, yo, now I hit up. Got the hiccups and I rips up many tracks. Jump in Jehoshaphat, don't make a sound. I see you about it, tracks like thunder. And lightning must have frightening, can't you tell? I'm loco. Ooh, they don't know me very well, so I love some.
Beans of Anti-Pop Consortium has put out a lot of music. This project, though, I didn't ever know it existed until I found it on CD. It's called Now Soon Someday, and it came out, I guess, around the same time as his debut solo album, Tomorrow Right Now. It includes some reworks of material on there and some other tracks, and for my money, it's just a really fun listen and possibly my favorite project, or definitely one of my top projects from Beans, who's always doing something different, always pushing himself in different directions. His vocal style, I don't always love it. Sometimes it just seems like a guy trying to read really fast and cramming too many words in a not very rhythmic way into a small amount of time. But it's unique, and in the end, it works for me.
Smell the heat, the woman wanna like come in birds rotation. Turned out the door and then it made them in the straw. Step to the rear of the dip after the orange of the din of the groove. Simultaneously smooth rhythmic head nods, or beds and land stabs with no expression of pain under a hat full of rain. The fragrance of appealing meaning has no meaning in the beauty of a babble when the baby's going goo. Cause all creatures make merry under the pain of death. All creatures make merry under the pain of death. Ain't no stopping rampant rabbits from hippin' hopping. Not even fungus on your mistletoe can stop a midstream flow. The telepathelophodaltone syndrome. Me for you, heads up, the blaze, the thing, enjoy. My robo spank the beats a bad boy. Instinctively maternal flaccitation flooding up with the jank. On top of river, a rhythm as good as any. Pitching their principles for pennies. Echo the sorrow, no relief in every hole that holds ahead. Every crevice in the creep that crept as if dead. Tomorrow's right now and like the dirt for
David Banner, Baptized in Dirty Water, Screwed and Chopped. This was a gamble. Sometimes I like to gamble when I'm buying CDs, and I never heard the original David Banner album, Baptized in Dirty Water. I think if I had, probably wouldn't have even bought this. But what's nice about Chopped and Screwed music is it can mask run-of-the-mill production and lyrics. In any case, Chopped and Screwed music can be done well and not so well. And this is done really nicely, courtesy of Michael 5000 Watts. He includes some subtle effects and scratching, which really complement the music well. This album's got some low points, but its high points are just fantastic. Very fun CD to listen to in the car.
Come off the shit, the click clack, them back up, you don't come off the shit, the click clack, them back up, if you don't come off the shit, the click clack, them back up, the bitch. Now cash to go, the confetti, the bust in your belly, the red, the blood, dripping the mud, popping the slugs. Me, I just don't give a hype fuck, like none of y'all. The ball, flip, give them a call, sell it, then it's up, boy.
Yo-Yo, Make Way for the Motherlode. This was, I guess you could say, an Ice Cube protege from the early 90s. Ice Cube actually probably wrote a lot of the lyrics for her, but it's a great listen. It's very dated, but if you can look past its faults, I think there's a lot to be appreciated. Also, fun fact, this is one of Del the Funky Homo Sapiens' first appearances. He apparently did some writing and production on the album. He's credited as Delvon the Funky Homo Sapien.
Once again, back is the incredible
Yo-Yo was born to wear a mic until it's worn. Like an old tennis shoe, a minute you knowledge attack. If it's rare from a super, reaping a someone, I'm reaping, I'm keeping a steady finger on the mic so you won't slip. I better bring you a double rhyme so you won't trip. This shit is beauty, so yo, it's gonna play you like an architect, erect the structure so I can fade you like an illusion. The twos, the fours, the
All right, Yin Yang Twins, United States of Atlanta. As I've been surveying most of the Yin Yang Twins discography lately, I will say this album seems to be their best by far. It is very long, but just immaculately produced. The level of detail and really high production value stands out on this. The vocal performances are all fantastic, and it's a surprising breadth of styles and takes on traditional Southern rap music. It's like, you got your party anthems, your strip club anthems, your relatively introspective commentaries on poverty and the prison system, very multifaceted, multidimensional, and surprising range that keeps me interested from beginning to end of this probably like 70-minute album. There's another non-rap project, the self-titled album by James Pants. James Pants is a producer, beat maker that I've always appreciated. His work has ranged from just kind of like sample-based beats to what you hear on this album, which is actually more of a band project and includes a lot of like retro garage rock with like old school soul and R&B elements. Really great listen. Fog, aka The Fog, aka Andrew Broder, is someone I sort of wrote off when I first heard the debut Fog album. I thought it sounded like sloppy turntablism, and I never really paid much attention to him since then, but I was sorely wrong. It is certainly a loose, messy take on turntablism, but I think it works fantastically. And while the first album is cool for what it is, it's noisy, ambient, very experimental, sort of a instrumental journey. What I really love is the second album called Ether Teeth, which takes a hard left turn into vocal weird pop tunes, just a really cool lo-fi, diverse array of instrumentation, from samples to live instruments with turntable manipulation, all just masterfully intertwined and very pleasing to my ears. Jeremiah J. Raw Money Raps. This stands the test of time. It's now 12 years later since its release, and it's just an amazing work from the production to the lyrical approach, which seems to be trying to meet ghetto mentality with spiritual illumination and overcoming of material needs and desires. So it manages to be kind of dark, gritty, and uplifting at the same time. I feel like in a lot of ways this sort of set the stage for a lot of lo-fi rap production that would follow in its wake. A lot of the kind of ill-defined, somewhat messy production that is popular today in certain underground circles of rap, but it rarely meets the level of dynamism and impactfulness and range of different sounds that this includes.
Magic moment, so close you can touch it. She want her name on the bright lights at the opening. Looking down, in touch with the bottom. So many problems coming up to be young and hopeless. To pull up in the focus, took his mama with, came back in the coffin. Dean's last trip, now Hollywood smoky. The phantom on the move, the ghost in the rear mirror looking back at you. Who's dude, played in catch 22, trying to make it out the life until the movie shoot. Props for props is due, thought the rich life was popping too soon. Popped out the womb with the silver spoon. Feet gone steady, running to the street. Black and motivated as scenes on TV.
Tim Love Lee, Confessions of a Selector. This is an album I had in the late 90s. You can hear the influence of the Dust Brothers, Paul's Boutique era of sample usage that was really, at the time, forging new territory in music, which was unfortunately cut short. This era, which I would say began properly with the Bomb Squad's production on the second and third Public Enemy albums, Prince Paul's production, especially on De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising, to Paul's Boutique with Beck's Odelay album, also produced by the Dust Brothers, which was matched or exceeded by DJ Shadow and the Introducing album. This was a time of a sort of supernova of sample manipulation and blending, mashing up every different style of music. It was a time of amazing possibility. Before copyright law kind of clamped down, before the era of the mashup, where it was relatively easy to create exciting new fusions of music that had, at that time, never before been attempted. Of course, inevitably, time went on to the point where we've all heard, Indian folk music combined with 80s electro, classical piano mixed with a James Brown breakbeat and a futuristic sounding synthesizer, etc., etc. So perhaps my appreciation for albums like this one are firmly based in my memory and historical context, whereas today maybe it's not that exciting. because I'm realizing now, like, yeah, this album starts really strong, but gets to be kind of a slog by the end of it. More than the album itself, I guess this album just represents a brief period in time when the possibilities seemed so limitless, and even though sampling had been in heavy usage in hip-hop, the pool of genres from which it was taken was largely constricted to funk, soul. Even when people started doing jazz sampling in the late 80s, early 90s, that was considered a big step. And it's kind of surprising that it took so long for the wider music world to embrace the true scope of what could be done with sampling and layering such disparate sounds over one another and creating these exciting new fusions. It's surprising it took that long for it to really take hold, which was, I would say, in the mid to late 90s. But even then, it was tempered by copyright law and coupled with the fact that people just like traditional music. It took a long time for the wider music world to take in and appreciate the full spectrum of fusion possibilities, which at this point I think we've reached. I think by and large, by the time an adolescent reaches young adulthood, they've heard pretty much every kind of music blended in every way possible, and there's nothing new under the sun. But there was a time when it was more exciting, because music just hadn't evolved as much then as now. I think music has evolved as far as it can go. All we can do at this point, the advancements that music can take now feel just minimal. Perhaps humanity has truly reached its cultural endpoint, where my ears are rewarded just as much by listening to old music as they might be by listening to brand new music, even by the most experimental of artists. In any case, tradition is popular for a reason. We're never going to get bored of the simple 4/4, 12-note magic that can be achieved over and over again. We are, in many ways, simplistic, easy to please creatures of habit. And that's why I continue to be entertained by music. And it's why I should, and I will, continue to keep an open ear to the horizon of new releases. Perhaps I need to just quit hoping for new sounds and be content with the sounds that please me, because there can be another Ram LZ, there can be another Kool Keith, there can be more Dust Brothers and Hieroglyphics, Company Flows, and there are, but they're just completely unimportant because it's been done. And that's why a younger, less musically experienced person maybe will have a lot more fun sifting through music than an old, jaded guy like me. But as jaded as I am, I still do find some things to be unique enough, or at least resonant enough to want to share. And in the bonus episode available exclusively through patreon.com/extraordinaryrap, I'm going to cover a couple of things I forgot to mention. I'm going to talk about Dark Mind, and I'm going to talk about the classic Rope Ladder 12 compilation featuring a lot of underground art rap folks that I was introduced to for the first time through this compilation. Also, I'm going to create a little bit of a mix of music, a guided mix, as I will explain before it plays exactly why I'm including each track. These are all tracks by some of the artists that I covered in this episode. songs and interludes that I just feel like are extra special and should be listened to in full. You'll find that at patreon.com/extraordinaryrap. Bye bye.